Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Kero Wrestling Podcast. I've been meaning to do this for a while. And of course, it's me, it's your boy Kero speaking. And you know me, I just love to just never shut up about professional wrestling. Which is why I'm here today. I'm gonna talk about professional wrestling. But I don't only do that. I play the video games, I review the shows. Hell, I even stepped into a wrestling ring myself. I don't know the reason why, but that's how much I'm passionate about professional wrestling. That's also the exact reason why I want to talk about AEW, a wrestling promotion that is so integral for competition in the business of professional wrestling. If AEW succeeds, everybody wins, especially us, the fans who get to watch all of this. But there are three major and even fundamental problems AEW has. And without taking care of those three problems, no matter what you do, the show, the promotion, it will continue to suffer. And I'll get to those three problems in order. But before I do that, I thank you very much if you're watching this on YouTube or on any other platform like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I've made sure to upload this podcast to however many platforms that I could, ultimately for your convenience. Okay, as you know, recently I published a blog article telling you about some advice, some experience I've gained throughout my experience doing pro wrestling content on social media that I thought would be super helpful for you. So go ahead and check that out for sure if you want to become a pro wrestling YouTuber. But not only that, if you want to learn a little bit about digital marketing, content creation, content marketing, the fundamental stuff that I give a lot of importance to. As I've told you, this is the exact reason why we're here today, right now. Fundamentals are everything. They are what separate great from good. Yeah, sure, this is okay. And no matter what I do, I try to make it fun. I try to make it entertaining or informative to give you something. For taking the time to read my blog, to click on my video, or listen to this podcast right now. Speaking of fun, shall we get to the fun stuff? Okay, so AEW has three major fundamental problems. And solving these problems would help the company immensely. Let's start with the problem number 3. I think I can simply title it as gluttony. The overabundance of everything. I mean, no matter what aspect of AEW you look at, it's just bloated. The most obvious and the most heard of example is the amount of titles, championships AEW has. I mean, off the top of my head, let me try to count some of them. We have the World Heavyweight Championship, AEW World Heavyweight Championship. We have the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship, Ring of Honor Television Championship. I think we have the Tag Team Championships. FTR has the IWGP Championships, Tag Team Championships as well. That's so many titles, and I'm not even halfway done. We have the TNT title, the TBS title, the Women's Championship, All Atlantic Championship, Ring of Honor Pure Championship. And I want to ask you this simple question. Which one of those actually matter? I'm hard-pressed to say even the World Heavyweight Championship matters truly. Let's now put away the championships aside. What about the wrestlers? The talent AEW has acquired over the years. I mean, they've got every single person who has ever stepped outside of the WWE. At least it feels like that. They've got so many people in AEW from the indies because they were friends with people in the company. So they got in that way, and most of them are not even being used. Just like the title situation, when you have too many wrestlers, you can't focus on all of them, and some get lost in the shuffle. Which is sad, but this wouldn't have been too big of a problem if AEW focused on specific wrestlers and really made them shine. But the problem is they also have an bloated, crazy amount of storylines. And the situation here can be explained as this: quantity over quality. Sure, everybody has a storyline. That's cool. That's what pro wrestling is about. Storytelling is one of the most important things in life, and it is the lifeblood of professional wrestling. Without good storytelling, you are toast. You are done. You do not matter. You will not move the needle. You will not make a difference. And like I said, this isn't limited to pro wrestling. Actually, this applies to real life too, and many other sectors and areas. But a good story cannot have 220 million characters that we need to focus on. Everything will fall apart, and that's what happens in AEW. There is no continuity. Someone debuts for a week, they start a storyline, suddenly the storyline goes away, then they go into another storyline and it's not connected at all. You don't know what's going to happen the next week, what happened the last week. You don't know why what's happening right now is happening. I mean, just look at the latest AEW pay-per-view. I think it was called Full Gear, and it had 12 freaking matches, meaning there are 12 different storylines you have to keep up with. And some of them don't develop at all. Some of them develop in the YouTube show. Some of them develop on Dynamite. Some of them develop on Rampage. There's no way, unless you're absolutely insane, unless you're a super fan of AEW, you can keep up with everything. And even if you do, again, the payoff will not be as good because it's not focused. You cannot please everybody. You simply cannot. You have to have a vision. But we'll get to that a little bit later. Another thing that's overdone is Extreme Rules or no disqualification matches. You see a table getting broken every single week. You see blood, people bleeding every single week. Again, going back to storytelling, blood can be so good. Someone going through a table can be so good, but you see that every single week. And who cares? Like, you don't want to be mean about it, right? You do want to care in some cases, but you just get exposed to it so much that it just loses all of its meaning. So you break tables every single week, fair enough, but don't expect people to care when it happens on a big show because they've been seeing it every single week on television for free. And I can't believe I'm talking about this stuff because it's so much common sense. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I'm not reinventing gravity, changing it, not colonizing Mars. No, I'm just talking about common sense. I feel like if you had common sense, you'd see these and maybe you still make a lot of mistakes, but not to this extent and not this many. You'd have to be blind. But that's fundamental problem number 3. Overabundance of everything in the company. Number 2, the tone of the show. This might be a bold statement, but I think it's true. AEW, or most people in AEW, people who matter, people who make the final decisions at the end, don't take pro wrestling as serious as they should. And maybe you can say, who says they need to take it seriously? I mean, it's pro wrestling. Everybody knows it's scripted, so they can play around in the ring. Who cares? And if you're asking me this question, while you're doing so, some alarm, some sirens should go off on your head, or in your head. Let's think of an example. Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, the Elite versus the Lucha Brothers. They have 6-man tag team matches where they completely, utterly ignore the referee, the rules of a tag team match. They sell nothing. They have no in-ring psychology in any of these matches. They go for big move after big move after big move with no reasoning, or no solid reasoning at the very least. And let me point out again that they ignore the referee. Even though the referee is the rule maker, what he says goes, they completely ignore him. And when they try to cheat around him without the referee seeing, they don't make it believable at all, which completely destroys the reputation of the referee and also all of the stakes of the match, of the storyline, whatever. Imagine Luke Skywalker versus Darth Vader in Empire Strikes Back, I believe. Luke loses the battle, gets his hand cut off. Spoilers, by the way. Then we have this great dramatic reveal. Darth Vader says, "I am your father." Luke Skywalker then screams, and instead of falling, potentially to his death, he suddenly stops screaming. He grows his hand back magically, gets a grenade launcher, shoots Darth Vader with it, and kills him. And then looks at the camera and says a snarky one-liner. Now, what the hell does that do to the story? First of all, it tells you that nothing ever freaking mattered. You're not supposed to suspend your disbelief. You're not supposed to take any of this seriously. Meaning you're not supposed to invest yourself. In a blunter statement, you're not supposed to give a damn about any of the things that were happening here because the writers didn't give a damn. That is a huge, huge, huge problem. That's why when you destroy the referee's reputation, when you don't care about the rules and when you don't try to suspend people's disbelief, when you make it extremely obvious without even bothering that everybody in that ring is working together instead of making it look like an actual fight and an actual struggle, you're shooting yourself in your own foot with a freaking nuclear weapon. You're done. And I'm not saying never not be serious, never have comedy spots, comedy moments, comedy matches in wrestling. There's a place for that, but you need to be smart about it. You need to actually care about what you're doing. Like if I wanted to see some meaningless jokes that come out of nowhere with no reasoning at all, then I would watch Family Guy or something. No, what I want in my professional wrestling is good freaking storytelling. Story is everything. And like I said, maybe your story that you're telling can be funny, but you need to take telling that story seriously. You need to take the professional wrestling business seriously because it has gotten to this point thanks to people who did just that in the past. Again, I ask you, like, how many people watch a Spider-Man just to see him do flips? No. They want to see what trials and tribulations he goes to. They want to see his underdog story, not him doing like a 360 backflip which is nice, but it's not what matters in the end. I can honestly tie this back to my how to become a pro wrestling YouTuber video too. You should be telling a story in every single podcast, in every single video, even in your description, because I think good stories are what makes the world worthwhile. Anyways, before getting too deep, let's actually turn our heads to the sky, to the leadership, to the top of AEW. All of these problems that I've been talking about, the overabundance of everything, the fact that they're not taking pro wrestling or the storytelling seriously, because if they did, like I said, they would not be making this many mistakes. Regardless, the man at the top, Tony Khan, is the source of all of these problems, because at the end of the day, he's the king, he's the owner. What he says goes. And this is why being a leader is tough, man. When things are good, nobody's gonna credit you. When things go bad, everybody's gonna find the fault in you. Maybe this isn't his problem specifically. Maybe there's more to this story, but he is the leader. And I've talked about having a vision, having a clear, concise vision. You cannot switch that vision every single day. Then it becomes harder to follow and affects the quality of things. Now, let's talk about Tony Khan. Who is he? He's a big, huge pro wrestling fan. He's been watching professional wrestling all his life, just like I've been. Well, does that make him a good pro wrestling booker? Good company owner? Absolutely not. It'd be like claiming you're absolutely amazing at warfare. You can get 10 headshots with your eyes closed in real life just because you've been playing Call of Duty all your childhood. It's not going to translate. I mean, look at Kenny Omega. He loves video games too. He tried to do the AEW Fight Forever Pro Wrestling video game, which I'm going to talk about and review and all that when it comes out, so you better subscribe. Regardless, he's considered as one of the best pro wrestlers in the world. He's been in the wrestling business for so many years. He loves professional wrestling, but making a video game about professional wrestling, that's an entirely different thing. So I cannot fathom for the life of me why Tony Khan, the number one biggest, most fundamental problem with AEW, is still holding on to his title. Why is he still the top decision maker? That's what I'm asking. You know, there are like mountainous areas and there are roads going up the mountain and there are no guardrails. So any wrong turn, any small mistake, you're flying down all the way to hell and you're not making it alive. You're not surviving that. Imagine a setting like that and you're in a car or a truck with all your loved ones, your most precious possessions, billions of dollars, and now someone has to drive that car. Would you give that mission to someone who's been watching car videos on YouTube all his life? Or would you actually give it to someone who knows what they're doing? Maybe like a trucker who has way more experience than anybody else. See, Tony Khan has to step aside, give the control to someone who knows actually what they're doing. Sure, this is his company and he can maybe deal with everything else. But when it comes to dealing with the talent, dealing with the story, writing new stuff, booking the shows, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people who'd be super motivated to go up against the WWE, the major wrestling company, and be actual competition for them. Like, you wouldn't even have to pay them too much money to do this very, very difficult job, by the way. Like, why not remain in control, remain in charge of some of the decisions, but have someone at the top who knows absolutely what they're doing, and let them mentor you for a couple of years. And when you're ready, then you can take all the reins. Because looking at AEW's ratings ever since its launch and today, almost nothing has changed and it's not going up either. I mean, it went up a couple of times, of course, with big returns and all that, but it never stayed up. And that's not a good sign. After 3 years, that's not a good sign. Tony Khan is that guy who just watched a lot of car videos, trucking videos, but who actually has no experience riding or driving a truck. But if he keeps on going, he'll have a great experience in which he gets to drive the entirety of AEW down a cliff. Crash and burn at the end of the day. Maybe I'm being a little too dramatic, but I believe all of these criticisms that I've just churned out are valid criticisms. And at the end of the day, I definitely want to say that I want AEW to succeed. I want AEW to succeed because, as I said in the beginning of the podcast, rising tides raise all boats. If AEW succeeds, there is more competition in the wrestling business. There's more competition, the product quality gets better. And you and I, we win at the end of the day as wrestling fans. So that being said, these are the top 3 fundamental, huge problems with AEW. And I hope in some capacity, in some way, they all get fixed one day. I'd love to know what you think about all these issues that I raised up. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Do you have a solution to offer? Let me know down in the comments. A review for the podcast would always be appreciated. Check out my channel on YouTube. It's called Kero, Kero. And most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, take care, because I definitely want to see you on the next one.